going on, guys? MariK here, back with another Dragon Ball Super deck profile. We've been revisiting old decks lately, and we've always had an affinity for blue decks, and one of my favorites to play, or one of my favorite leaders to play, has always been Super Saiyan God Son Goku. Obviously, for veterans of this game, this has been a leader that we have all played with. When he attacks, you get to switch an energy back to active mode. Really solid leader. I feel like he still holds his own against even the newer leaders in the meta right now. He's just severely underrepresented. On the Awakened side, he has the same effect, except he gets to switch 2 energy back to active mode. And if you happen to have 5 or more energy, he gains 5,000 power. That does happen a decent bit, so you have to remember that, because I often forget that ability. But that's not really what you care about. It's the being able to switch to energy to active every time you attack. That has a lot of potential and gives you a lot of flexibility throughout the game. Now, with this particular deck, I feel like it has a lot of synergy for this leader. We lost a little bit of it due to the ban list, but we'll get to that in a moment. So starting out, every deck needs a 1-drop. Every deck needs a turn 1 play. And for this deck, we chose Saiyan Bloodline Son Goku. He's a 1-drop, lets you search the top 3 cards of your deck and add a blue or yellow Saiyan to your hand. The rest go to the bottom of the deck in any order. So, since the deck is a mono blue deck, any Saiyan that you see, you're going to add. The entire deck is Saiyans. So, you should never not hit a target on this unless you hit nothing but extra cards. So the first of our targets is going to be Ki Barrage Son Goten. It's a 1-drop, 10,000 power that returns to the hand at the end of the turn. So you can play him, attack with him if you want to, and then he's going to bounce right back and he's protected. Since you guys know this is a Gotenks deck, you want to have him in your hand, but being able to just kind of slap him down for 1 energy, maybe kill some little weak, say like the crit Trunks or something like that, the little Kabbas and what have you that your opponent has on the board. He's kind of just a little hit and run battle card. So I do like him. I don't use him very often for that, but it's nice to have the option. The other Goten we play is Son Goten Family of Justice. There still isn't enough solid Goten cards that can really be ran in a deck like this. This one, though, for 1 energy, you can KO one of your opponent's battle cards 3 or less when you combo it. So, decent combo power. You're going to be able to KO some weak little battle cards, and it gives us a decent amount of removal in this deck. There's actually a lot more removal in the deck than I thought there was. Then, we can't have Gotenks without the other half of the fusion, so we ran 4 Ki Barrage Trunks. He's a 2-cost 10,000 power. When you play him, you can add a card from your life to your hand and bounce one of your opponent's battle cards. This is nice for being able to just get stuff off the board, but it's also nice for helping you awaken. So if your opponent gets you to 5 life, and you can't get them to attack you to get down to 4, you can play this Trunks, force yourself down to 4, and then you can start taking advantage of your leader's ability. Now, if your opponent has a battle card that has barrier and you need to do a little early sniping, then we've got Trunks the Sweeper. He's a 2-cost 10k that lets you target a battle card, ignoring barrier with 2 energy or less, and return it to the hand. Again, returning it to the hand sucks, but you know, it's better than nothing. It still forces your opponent to have to reuse the energy and replay the battle card. Then, as much as it pains me, we run 1 Unyielding Spirit Trunks. This was a perfect card to run in this deck when it was at 4, because all the Trunks and Gotens we run are 10,000 power. They have to be the same power to be able to Union Fusion them, so it worked out really well, and since the deck has the ability to search out Goten and Trunks, being able to add Unyielding Spirit to your hand was a really nice ability. Plus, with all the untapping we do between Unyielding Trunks, we got the Leader's ability, we got one of the Gotenks abilities as well. It really gave you just a lot of energy to play with that most decks normally wouldn't have. So when Goten and Trunks do their little fusion dance, we get Quick Thinking Gotenks. There's a 3-cost 15k. You can Union Fusion him for 2 blue energy. He's got critical. When you play him with Union, you get to draw a card, or you get to draw 2 cards, rather. And when he attacks, you get to draw a card. So, 3 cards the turn you play him, and crit damage is amazing. I love this card. I love the art. I love it as a foil. Just that card alone is what made me build my first iteration of the Blue Gotenks deck. Now, why we chose the Soul Striker leader, well, aside from the fact that it's just nice to have extra energy to play with, but the biggest reason is Raging Energy Blast Gotenks. This card came out back in set 4, and didn't really have a whole lot of support to go with it, but he's a 4-cost 20k with crit. His biggest ability is his activate main that lets you place him in the drop area. You got to add a Trunks and a Goten to your hand, and switch 2 energy back to active mode. So, that's where it comes into play that when we had 4 Unyielding Spirit Trunks, we could have one at any time because this Gotenks would let you add one to hand. And if we didn't want to add more and we actually needed a Trunks to fuse with, then we could do that too. The ability to play this card, attack for crit, activate main, add the 2, and then be able to use the 2 energy to play a quick thinking Gotenks was amazing. Combine that with the leader, and you can make multiple Gotenks plays in a turn, or just have extra energy to be able to defend yourself on your opponent's turn. Just the synergy, I feel like there was a lot of synergy between the leader and this particular deck. TN does suck. You never, ever have to worry about, like, Borgos, or the Raditz, or the Whis, or whatever the other colors are that are like the 1-drop Borgos. You're never going to worry about that because there's so much removal in this deck between the green Goten, the both blue Trunks. I mean, and then we've got other cards in the deck that have some removal options as well. It's just there's no reason that card's going to be a threat. The black Tien, on the other hand, there's really nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. But since this is a Gotenks deck, we also get to run 4 Boo Ball Volleyball, Boo Boo Volleyball Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It's your new super combo. I am so happy they gave us a Gotenks super combo so that I can run it in this deck. Not that there was anything wrong with the Gohan, they're exactly the same, but having a Gotenks super combo goes well with the theme of the deck, so I appreciate that at least. Then, this card came out of the new recent draft box. It's Shu Deluge of Power. Now, the reason I wanted to main deck this card is I feel like, first of all, I feel like these pseudo super combos are really solid. It gives an extra 5,000 power when you combo on a blue battle card, so it's 10,000. So, super combo without the draw. I almost feel like these cards could be just staples in, you know, whatever deck you're playing of whatever color. But we'll get to that at another time. It's a topic I want to discuss in the live stream. But I like this card especially because one of the biggest things that your opponent's going to target is going to be Quick Thing and Gotenks. They hate this card. They hate this card because, one, it's 15 crit that they're having to defend against every turn. You're drawing a card every time you attack with it. It's a big threat to them. When you can combo Deluge of Power, and it's a free super combo, that helps keep Gotenks alive. So I really, really like that card in this deck. Now, one of the other cards that I have in this deck, and I feel like it's not as prevalent now, but I still keep 2 of them in there just to tech them, is Rebirth of Justice. Basically, this card lets you play a blue card in your hand 5 or less, and then you can choose an opponent's battle card and bounce it. So, ideally, the target you're going to go for with this card is Raging Energy Blast Gotenks. So, Rebirth of Justice lets you play him for 4 energy. It's the same energy cost, but with the addition of being able to bounce any battle card to your opponent's hand. So, if they have a card that's really problematic or really high in power and you just want it to go away, you play Rebirth of Justice, then you still get your Gotenks, and it serves both purposes. So, like I said, there's a lot of board removal in this deck, and I feel like it really balances out well because you don't need a lot of energy to be able to go offensive with it, especially since we've got so much energy restanding that happens in the deck anyways. Now, because of that, I decided to add a little bit of defense to this deck as well the last time I took a look at it. So we added in 3 You're Wide Open. I chose 3 because, well, Unyielding Spirit Trunks always gives us a really odd number with a 1 of. So, this was a card we put in at 3 because I feel like it's not as needed. It's a good counter card, 2 energy. Your leader can give you that extra energy. The 4-drop Gotenks can give it to you. Sensu Bean can give it to you. So there's just a lot of options. It's a good counter against any 4-drop that your opponent plays or less. So really decent card from the start of the game all the way even into the later stages. And then of course we have 4 Sensu Bean. Lets you switch 2 energy to active mode and gives you 5,000 power to any battle card. And then lastly, to switch more energy, we have Dimension Magic. This, I feel like, combined with your Wide Open, is really a neat combo. Because you can have no open energy, Dimension Magic, add a card to your hand, you get 2 energy open, and then if they play anything, you can just negate it with your Wide Open, and boom. There goes their entire turn. It's a bit gimmicky, but if they're smart enough to attack one at a time, instead of dumping everything and then attacking, then you can take advantage of that. I say that smarter just because it's easier to bait cards that way. Now, in that particular instance, it would be smarter to, play as many cards as you can while I have no open energy and I appear to not be able to defend myself. But because of the amount of counters and stuff we have that happen during attacks, it's easy to play like 1 or 2 cards, attack, let your opponent, think that's all you've got, use whatever they have, and then you drop something else. In this case, that would be good for you, bad for your opponent, because you're going to negate their attack, restand your energy, then be able to counter their card. So it kind of goes along with feeling out your opponent and knowing whether or not they run more of those counter plays versus counter attack cards. Now, as far as stuff to side deck, if you really needed something to be able to snipe a card of a higher battle power, you could always run Betrayal of the Master. I had 2 in the deck, and I took them out because I didn't really need them. But being able to choose an opponent's battle card for 1 energy and return it to their hand, it has to be greater than their current energy or equal to it. But a lot of times, this game is all about getting out your biggest cards as fast as possible, so this card works really well against that. If you're wanting to completely wipe their entire board, then you're better off with a card like Ghost Rampage Super Saiyan Gotenks. This was a card I was side decking for Goku Black token spams, because you could just bounce all their tokens away, and then they have nothing to block with, and you punch them in the face. Getting to return every battle card 20,000 or less is a really big deal. I hate that it returns them to the hand so they can combo with them. It makes this Gotenks not as good of a finisher. But if you have enough cards that you can combo and maybe out-combo what they have in their hand, then it's still pretty solid. I had 4 in the initial build. I didn't play them a whole lot, so I had cut it down to 2. I actually cut them out of this build just because I wanted to put in stuff like Deluge of Power. So I thought, this was a card that we didn't necessarily need. And if you need a little bit bigger of a finisher than the Ghost Rampage Gotenks or the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks that's in the deck, then you could go with Super Saiyan 3 Trunks Saiyan Harmonizer. Since the deck is entirely blue, this card fits in perfectly. He's a 4-drop, 20k with double strike. When he attacks, you can combo with all the battle cards in your drop area that don't have keyword skills. So if we go through the deck, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 battle cards with no keyword skills. And 4 of each of them with the exception of Unyielding Spirit Trunks. That's 25 total battle cards that you can combo with. That's going to be a lot of combo power for that Super Saiyan 3 Trunks. And I'm thinking I may even just need to put him in there just as a good finisher for this deck, even though he doesn't fit the theme. And then his Activate main for 4 energy, you can draw 2 cards, switch him to active mode. Now, what's cool about this deck is because we have the Unyielding Spirit Trunks, because we have the Soul Striker leader, and we have Sensu Beans in the deck, it would actually be really easy to be able to play this card and use his activate main in the same turn. So that's definitely a really solid option you can go with if you aren't stubborn like me and want to keep it as theme-based as possible. As far as other options, now there are so many different things we can do with this game now that we actually have multicolor cards. You could do like blue-yellow. You could do blue-green. I don't think there's a whole lot of support that would help as far as this deck for green, unless you wanted to play like the Super Saiyan 3 green Gotenks from the old Heroes expansion pack that came out between set 2 and 3. That would be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't know. I like the idea of the mono blue. Plus, Soul Striker can't restand any green energy. But that would be a decent option. If you did, blue-yellow, then you could always have negates and control cards like Crusher Ball and things like that. You could even run things like the Undying Spirit Son Gohan or the Champa counter that goes kind of along this in the same set. There's a lot of options that you could use to really take advantage of different decks and different color schemes within the decks as well. So that's one of my favorite things about this game now, is that there's so many options. There's so much room for creativity. If we could just step away from the meta, if people could just stop for a second, and instead of just copying the deck that got top 8 or top 16, and just really stopped to think about what you could do with this game. Granted, the diversity right now is really good anyways, but I feel like it could be so much better if people tried to do some crazy shit for themselves instead of waiting on someone to top with some crazy shit on their own. But with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. Let me know what you guys think. I know you guys have seen this deck before, but I do enjoy doing updated profiles for you guys, and obviously I'm going to stick with some decks over and over and over again. Future Trunks is one of them. Gotenks is kind of one of them, but he's not one of my favorites. Obviously, stuff like Majin Buu and Vegito are going to be things that I try every time we get new cards for them. So, but let me know what you think of this deck. Let me know what you think of the theme in general. If there's any suggestions you guys have that might make this a little better. If you guys have play tested this, I know some of you guys have play tested my old build, and you guys said you enjoyed how it flowed. So, how do you think it flows now that we only have one Unyielding Spirit Trunks? Anything at all that you can think of, let me know in the comments below. You guys know, and I enjoy discussing all of this stuff with you, and we'll go over some of this stuff in the live stream on Friday as well. With that, though, we're going to go ahead and get the freak out of here, and we'll see you guys in another video.